Hello, how you guys doing? Hope you're doing well out there. Um, Nice day is going before the rain gets up here in Ohio and in the Midwest. Well, I'm going to decide to do a video that's kind of an introduction into my topic about what's in the present and show you what's in the past. I'm going to play this video about most racist states. You'll see why I played this.
If you've been waiting to apply for disability benefits, don't. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a lawyer at Atticus. Applying as soon as you're struggling to work or are unable to work because of your condition can help make for a stronger case. If you're considering applying for disability benefits, we can help. Across the board, Atticus clients win benefits 3 times as often as the national average. Complete our 2-minute quiz to see what benefits you might qualify for and get personalized disability.
America, a diverse country with many races, still faces the widespread challenge of racism. Recognizing its global impact, this issue extends beyond national borders. In today's video, we'll reveal the 10 most racist states in America, considering historical context, current laws, and bias-motivated crimes. Let's explore this important topic without delay. Number 10. South Carolina. South Carolina has a deep-rooted history of racial issues that have shaped its social and political landscape over centuries. As one of the original 13 colonies, the state played a significant role in the institution of slavery, which persisted through the Civil War and Reconstruction periods. The legacy of slavery left lasting scars on the state's African American population, contributing to persistent socioeconomic disparities and racial tensions. In more recent times, South Carolina has been criticized for its voter suppression efforts. These efforts include implementing stringent voter ID laws and engaging in voter roll purges, which opponents argue disproportionately affect minority communities. Such measures have sparked legal challenges and debates about fairness and accessibility in the electoral process, reflecting broader concerns about civil rights and equal representation. The state's political and legal landscape continues to be contentious regarding issues of race. Despite progress in some areas, South Carolina faces ongoing challenges in addressing systemic racism, particularly in areas such as education, employment, and criminal justice. These challenges underscore the complexity and depth of racial issues that persist, despite efforts towards greater inclusivity and equality. In short, while South Carolina has made strides in some aspects of race relations, historical legacies and contemporary issues like voter suppression highlight ongoing disparities and tensions within the state. Addressing these challenges requires sustained efforts to promote social justice and equitable opportunities for all residents, regardless of race or background. Number 9. Louisiana. Louisiana presents a complex landscape regarding racial issues, characterized by contrasting dynamics between urban cultural tolerance and pervasive discrimination in employment and housing. Cities like New Orleans are renowned for their cultural diversity and acceptance, fostering environments where various ethnicities and lifestyles coexist harmoniously. However, beyond these urban centers, the state grapples with significant challenges related to racial equality. Despite cultural tolerance in cities, Louisiana continues to face systemic discrimination that disproportionately impacts African Americans and other minority groups. This discrimination manifests prominently in employment practices and access to housing, where minorities often encounter barriers that hinder their socioeconomic advancement. Moreover, the state's criminal justice system has been scrutinized for perpetuating racial disparities, reflecting broader issues of inequity within law enforcement and judicial processes. These disparities contribute to entrenched socioeconomic inequalities and limit opportunities for minority communities to thrive. Efforts to address these challenges require comprehensive strategies aimed at dismantling systemic barriers and promoting inclusive policies statewide. By fostering environments that prioritize equity and opportunity for all residents, regardless of race or background, Louisiana can move closer to achieving genuine social justice and equality. Number 8. Texas is known for its rich cultural diversity and status as one of the most populous states in the U.S., faces significant criticism regarding its approach to immigration and voting laws. Despite its vibrant demographic tapestry that includes a substantial Hispanic population, the state has enacted immigration policies that some view as stringent and exclusionary. These policies often target undocumented immigrants, contributing to a contentious national debate on immigration reform and enforcement. In the realm of voting rights, Texas has implemented measures such as voter ID laws and restrictions on early voting and voter registration drives. Proponents argue these measures are necessary to prevent voter fraud and uphold the integrity of the electoral process. However, critics, including civil rights advocates and minority communities, contend that such laws disproportionately impact African American and Hispanic voters. They argue that these measures create barriers that suppress voter turnout among marginalized groups, thereby undermining their political representation. The intersection of these issues reflects broader tensions within Texas society concerning civil rights, equality, and social justice. While the state's diverse population underscores its cultural vibrancy, disparities in access to economic opportunities and political participation persist. The controversy surrounding immigration and voting laws underscores the ongoing struggle to reconcile security concerns with the principles of inclusivity and non-discrimination. Efforts to address these challenges require a nuanced approach that balances security concerns with the protection of civil liberties and the promotion of equitable access to rights and opportunities for all residents. This ongoing dialogue is crucial for Texas and the nation as a whole as they strive to uphold democratic principles and ensure fair treatment for all individuals regardless of race, ethnicity, or immigration status. Number 7. Arizona faces significant racial tensions influenced by its controversial immigration laws, which have sparked national debate and criticism. These laws, notably Senate Bill 1070 passed in 2010, require law enforcement officers to verify the immigration status of individuals suspected of being in the country illegally during routine stops. Critics argue that such measures encourage racial profiling and discrimination, particularly against Hispanic communities, who constitute a large portion of the state's population. The implementation of these strict immigration policies has not only strained relations between law enforcement and minority groups, but also intensified existing racial tensions within Arizona. Advocates for immigrant rights and civil liberties have raised concerns about the impact of these laws on community trust and social cohesion. Moreover, these policies have led to legal challenges and a broader national discussion on the balance between immigration enforcement and protecting civil rights. Beyond law enforcement practices, Arizona's approach to immigration has shaped public discourse on issues of inclusivity and fairness. The state's Hispanic population, a significant demographic group, plays a vital role in Arizona's cultural and economic efforts to address racial tensions and promote unity across diverse communities remain critical for fostering a more cohesive and equitable society. In brief, Arizona's immigration policies have underscored deep-seated racial tensions and challenges related to discrimination and social justice. Addressing these issues requires a nuanced approach that balances immigration enforcement with protecting civil liberties and promoting inclusivity for all residents, regardless of background or immigration status. Number 6. Tennessee faces significant challenges related to racial discrimination in education and voter disenfranchisement, reflecting deep-rooted issues of inequality and civil rights within the state. In education, Tennessee struggles with persistent racial disparities that affect students of color disproportionately. These disparities manifest in unequal access to quality education, resources, and opportunities between schools serving predominantly white communities and those serving minority populations. Such inequities contribute to academic achievement gaps and hinder the overall educational attainment and success of minority students. Regarding voter disenfranchisement, Tennessee has implemented laws and practices that critics argue disproportionately impact minority voters. These include strict voter ID requirements, limitations on early voting periods, and other regulations that create barriers to voting access, particularly for African American and Hispanic communities. These measures have raised concerns about fairness and equity in the electoral process, sparking debates and legal challenges over voting rights and democratic representation. Addressing these challenges requires concerted efforts to reform educational policies and practices to ensure equitable opportunities for all students, regardless of race or socioeconomic background. Similarly, reforms in voting laws are necessary to promote inclusivity and protect the voting rights of all citizens, thereby fostering a more equitable and democratic society in Tennessee. Before we continue with the next 5 most racist states in the United States, kindly subscribe to our channel if you have not done so. This means so much to us. Thank you. Number 5. Arkansas faces significant challenges related to segregation in its education system and accusations of voter suppression, reflecting broader issues of racial inequality and civil rights within the state. In terms of education, Arkansas has a history of maintaining underfunded and segregated schools, particularly affecting minority communities. The legacy of historical segregation policies has contributed to persistent disparities in educational resources, academic achievement, and opportunities for students of color. Despite efforts towards desegregation in past decades, socioeconomic and racial inequalities continue to impact educational outcomes across the state. Regarding voter suppression, Arkansas has implemented laws and practices that critics argue disproportionately disenfranchise minority voters. These include stringent voter ID requirements, limitations on early voting, and voter registration hurdles that make it more challenging for marginalized communities, including African Americans and Hispanics, to participate in the electoral process. These measures have raised significant concerns about fairness, access to voting rights, and equitable representation in state and national elections. The accusations of voter suppression and challenges in education underscore ongoing efforts within Arkansas to address systemic barriers that perpetuate racial disparities. Advocates for civil rights and social justice continue to push for reforms aimed at ensuring equal opportunities and protections for all residents, regardless of race or socioeconomic background. Addressing these issues requires collaborative efforts from policymakers, educators, and community leaders to promote inclusivity, fairness, and dignity for all Arkansans. Number 4. Mississippi. Historically marked by deep-seated racism from the era of slavery through the civil rights movement, continues to grapple with significant racial challenges that shape its social fabric today. The state's legacy includes a long history of racial segregation, discriminatory laws, and violent resistance to civil rights advancements, which have profoundly impacted its African American population and societal dynamics. During the Jim Crow era, Mississippi implemented and enforced laws that enforced racial segregation in schools, public facilities, and housing, perpetuating systemic inequality and disenfranchisement among African Americans. The state's resistance to desegregation and civil rights reforms led to pivotal events such as the murder of civil rights activists like Medgar Evers and the Freedom Summer murders, reflecting the intensity of racial violence and oppression. In contemporary times, Mississippi continues to face challenges related to racial disparities and bias-motivated crimes. Despite progress in some areas, such as legal desegregation and voting rights protections, racial tensions persist, manifesting in disparities in education, employment, healthcare, and criminal justice. High rates of bias-motivated crimes, including hate crimes targeting minority groups, underscore ongoing racial divisions and the persistence of prejudice in the state. Efforts to address these challenges require a multifaceted approach that includes education, policy reforms, community engagement, and efforts to promote racial reconciliation. Initiatives aimed at improving economic opportunities, enhancing educational equity, and combating systemic racism are crucial to fostering a more inclusive.
The first step of thru cost us $6.90.
Wait a minute. I think I'm having the idea now. Such ever-readied white generational barbaric outbursts against a simple people captured, shipped off, enslaved, and then, even upon being emancipated, faced with the severest hate and segregation, could only undoubtedly have been the outcome of serious generational indoctrination, an indoctrination of hate, where even the cruel death or brutal murder of the hated is seen as victory or some grand accomplishment. And for what? What, of course, could be more irrational, dim, and barbaric in the world?
They came on the first day of January and they did not stop burning and shooting and hanging and lynching until January the 7th.
June 1st, 1921 was the day Tulsa's Greenwood district, known as the Black Wall Street, was left in ashes. In a span of 24 hours, the wealthiest black community in America was reduced to rubble. The Tulsa Massacre was a brutal reminder of the deadly consequences of racial hatred and economic envy. As the smoke cleared, the true extent of the devastation became clear. 35 city blocks destroyed, over 1,200 homes reduced to ash, and an estimated number of 300 lives lost.
What's the big deal about Tulsa? What makes Tulsa so different than any other city? Well, you've come to a place where not only the terrorist attack occurred, but that terrorist attack, there was no justice that followed that terrorist attack.
The survivors would pick up whatever piece was left of their lives forever changed by the trauma of that day, says Ruth Avery, a survivor of the Tulsa Massacre.
I never thought I'd see the day when my community would be destroyed. It was like the world was coming to an end.
The Tulsa Massacre was a tipping point in American history, exposing the dark underbelly of racism and oppression that continues to haunt us today. But Tulsa was not an isolated incident. From Rosewood to Elaine and so many other cities, the pattern of racial violence and destruction repeated itself. Tulsa was just the beginning. Across America, so many thriving black cities and towns were targeted, destroyed, and erased from history. Their stories silenced, their legacies lost, until now. The destruction of black cities and towns was a result of systemic racism, white supremacy, and economic envy. There were quite a number of these towns then, over 50 black cities and towns, blooming with all kinds of development and amenities for the hardworking black Americans who were living in them and endeavoring all they can to keep their communities habitable. These communities were thriving independently, with successful businesses, schools, and cultural institutions. But the success of these cities was seen as a threat to white dominance. Instead of emulating from the good works they had noticed going on in these black towns, white Americans resorted to doing just what they're known to do best: destruction, chaos, and death. In those days, violence, intimidation, and forced displacement were the weapons used by white communities to maintain marginalization and racial control on blacks by every means. What it feels like to be black was nothing short of unearthly pain for our black ancestors in that era. However, before we go forward, kindly consider subscribing if you are yet to. Hit the thumb button in front of you and share with friends and families to keep spreading consciousness. Your support means a lot to us. Now let us dive into the events of this dark history of the thriving black cities that were destroyed by whites, starting with 1. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood District.
I will never forget the violence of the white mob when we left our home. I still see black men being shot, black bodies lying in the street. I still smell smoke and see fire. I still see black businesses being burned. I still hear airplanes flying overhead. I hear the screams. I have lived through the massacre every day. Our country may forget this history, but I cannot.
During an emotional testimony on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, Fletcher, who is now 107, recalls her memories of the two-day massacre that left hundreds of black people dead. In the early early 1900s, Greenwood was a beacon of black excellence, with over 300 businesses, including banks, hotels, and newspapers. Tulsa, Oklahoma, was founded in 1882, and by the early 1900s, it had become a thriving oil town. Greenwood was a self-sufficient community with its own schools, hospitals, and newspapers. It was a place where black people could thrive, free from the racial tensions of the time. But as Tulsa grew, so did racial tensions. The white residents had become increasingly resentful of Greenwood's success, although segregation laws had enforced separation between black and white communities. Despite segregation laws, racial tensions remained high, and in one occasion of racial clashes, whites had unleashed their pent-up fury against the African American community, revealing deep-seated animosity and hostility. It all started on May 31, 1921, when a 19-year-old shoe shiner named Dick Rowland entered a Drexel building, an office located at 319 South Main Street in Tulsa. He needed to use a public bathroom, but because he was a black, segregation laws restricted him from using facilities located at the down part of the building, so he had to use the bathroom at the top. Getting there required taking the elevators, and the 19-year-old shoe shiner stepped into the elevator. On getting there, he met 17-year-old Sarah Page, a white lady who was working as the elevator operator. The chance encounter between the two individuals sparked a chain of events that would change the city forever. According to Page, Rowland grabbed at her arm and attempted to kiss her, prompting her to push him away and flee the elevator in fear. But Rowland's version of events told a different story. He claimed to have simply tripped and stumbled into the elevator, denying any wrongdoing. As the news of the incident spread like wildfire, the white community seized upon Page's account, fueling racial tensions and outrage. The media sensationalized the story, portraying Rowland as a criminal and Page as a victim. Some witnesses reported hearing Page scream and seeing Rowland flee the scene, while others whispered that the encounter was consensual. The truth, however, remained elusive, lost in the chaos and destruction that followed. Knowing definitely well that the event might make him the target of an angry white mob, Rowland fled to his mother's house in Greenwood for refuge. Unfortunately, the police located and arrested him. Rumors that Rowland will be lynched began spreading like wildfire, and by 7:30 p.m. on that same day, hundreds of residents were gathered outside the courthouse. At exactly 8:30 p.m., 3 men entered into the courthouse demanding that Rowland be handed over to them, but McCullough, the newly elected local sheriff, sternly refused and sent the 3 men out. By 9:30 p.m., the crowd had swelled into thousands, and the sheriffs vastly outnumbered. It was about this time that a group of 50 to 60 armed black citizens arrived at the courthouse in order to support the sheriffs. And again, the sheriffs turned down their offer. Sadly, their arrival had prompted many of the white citizens to head home for their guns. At 10 p.m., a second group of black armed men arrived.
The truth is, behind closed doors, the P word became my secret sin at age 10. And for the next 17 years of my life, what I did in the...
A second group of black armed men arrived to support the sheriffs as well, but again, they were turned down. As they were leaving the courthouse, a white man approached one of the black armed men, calling him a racial slur, and at the same time, trying to take his gun, thereby sparking an altercation. In an instant, the situation escalated. A single gunshot pierced the air, and chaos erupted. Panic and violence spread like wildfire, unleashing a maelstrom of gunfire, shouts, and screams. Both sides began to fire, and the small group of black citizens was outnumbered 20 to 1. As a reason, this group of black citizens were forced to retreat towards their neighborhood, Greenwood, in an attempt to escape the violence and find safety. Unluckily, the gunfight followed them the whole way, thereby leading to massive killings of innocent black citizens. Calling the incident a Negro uprising, the local police deputized over 500 men, many of whom were members of the lynched mob. These new deputies were instructed to arm themselves and shoot any black they met on the street. The violence spread throughout Tulsa's black neighborhood, Greenwood, with white mobs attacking homes, businesses, and churches. White pilots flew planes overhead, dropping incendiary bombs and shooting at black residents. Greenwood was destroyed, with the entire city blocks reduced to ashes, leaving thousands of black residents homeless and displaced. Greenwood was was left in ruins. The Oklahoma National Guard was deployed to restore order, but not before the devastation was complete. Over the next 24 hours, the mob destroyed 35 city blocks, burned over 1,200 homes, although official reports at the time glossed over the carnage, claiming only 36 lives lost, 26 blacks, 10 whites. But the Red Cross, witnessing the devastation firsthand, estimated a staggering 300 fatalities. The NAACP, fighting for justice, believed the true number lay between 150 to 200. In the end, it didn't matter what really happened in that elevator. The damage was done. The seeds of hatred and violence that had been sown, and the city of Tulsa would never be the same again. The violence was not merely a reaction to the elevator incident, but a manifestation of long-held racial hatred and fear, fueled by systemic oppression and discrimination. The Tulsa race riot still remains one of the darkest chapters in American history. 2. Rosewood, Florida.
The town of Rosewood was a small, predominantly black community, not too far from Gainesville. It was destroyed at the hands of an angry, racist mob. All that's left, their descendants, who continue to tell their stories.
It was almost like this picture-perfect place.
On January 5th, 1923, a mob of over 200 white men attacked the black community in Rosewood, Florida, killing over 30 black women, men, and children, burning the town to the ground, and forcing all survivors to permanently flee Rosewood. This is what went down. On January 1st, 1923, in Sumner, Florida, a young married white woman named Fannie Taylor claimed she had been assaulted by Jesse Hunter, a black man who had escaped a prison chain gang. Though there was no evidence against Mr. Hunter, local white men launched a manhunt in Rosewood, a nearby town of about 200 black people. On January 2nd, a mob of white men kidnapped, tortured, and lynched Sam Carter, a black craftsman from Rosewood, on the suspicion that he had helped Jesse Hunter escape. White mobs would continue to terrorize Rosewood searching for Mr. Hunter, and black residents would arm themselves in defense. Late on the night of January 4th, a white posse fired into the home of black Rosewood resident Sylvester Carrier, whom they suspected of harboring Mr. Hunter, and killed an elderly woman. A gunfight between Carrier and the mob would last into the early morning, killing people on both sides. Outraged that black residents had fought back, the posse left the scene to regroup and returned with more men. On January 5th, a mob of between 200 to 300 white men attacked Rosewood, killing an estimated 30 to 40 black men, women, and children on sight, and burning the town to the ground. Most black residents would later flee into the woods, while others fled by train to Gainesville, Florida, never to return. Survivors later recounted that Fannie Taylor had made false accusations against Jesse Hunter to conceal her extramarital affair with a white man. Number 3, Washington, D.C. In the sweltering summer of 1919, Washington, D.C. was a city on edge. The Great War had ended, but the fight for equality and justice had only just begun. African-American soldiers, fresh from battling for democracy abroad, returned home to find themselves denied the same rights and respect they had fought for. Tensions simmered, fueled by housing shortages, job competition, and the ever-present specter of racial prejudice. The city's streets were a powder keg, waiting for a spark to ignite the flames of violence. That spark came on July 20, 1919, when a white woman accused a black man of assault. White men, many in the armed forces, responded to the rumored arrest of a black man for the rape of a white woman, with 4 days of mob violence against black individuals and businesses. They rioted randomly, beating black people on the street and pulling others off streetcars for attacks. When the police refused to intervene, the black population fought back. The violence raged on for days. Sounds of gunfire, screams, and shattering glass filled the air as the city teetered on the brink of chaos. In the end, the riots left deep scars on the city and its people. The death toll mounted with at least 15 lives lost and over 150 injured, with property damage of over $100,000 to $200,000, approximately $1.5 million to $3 million in today's dollars. This left the streets littered with the remnants of shattered lives and broken dreams. Number 4, Colfax, Louisiana. On April 13, 1873, a white militia attacked the town of Colfax, Louisiana, killing an estimated 60 to 150 black residents. The violence was sparked by a disputed gubernatorial election, with white Democrats seeking to overthrow the newly elected Republican government. The militia, mostly ex-Confederates, targeted the town's black majority, who had been exercising their newfound voting rights. The attackers used cannons, guns, and fire to destroy the town, killing many black residents, including women and children. Some were shot while trying to surrender, while others were burned alive in their homes. Despite the fact that the Colfax decimation made national headlines at the time, the incident was quickly forgotten. In 1921, local officials erected a memorial to the 3 white militia members who died. The inscription on the memorial calls the white militia members heroes who died fighting for white supremacy. To a large extent, these actions show that they had complete disregard for the value of the black lives lost. The Colfax massacre was a brutal example of racial terrorism aimed at suppressing black political power and maintaining white supremacy in Louisiana. The event marked the end of Reconstruction in the state and led to the rise of Jim Crow laws. Only 3 white men were ever charged, and none were convicted. Number 5, Thibodaux, Louisiana. The Thibodaux liquidation, a dark and pivotal event in American history, unfolded in the sleepy town of Thibodaux, Louisiana, in November 1887. This tragic incident was the culmination of a long-simmering labor dispute between African-American sugarcane workers and white planters, set against the backdrop of the post-Reconstruction era's racial tensions. In the late 19th century, Louisiana's sugar industry was booming, with Thibodaux at its epicenter. Thousands of African-American workers toiled in the fields, often under grueling conditions and for meager wages. As the Knights of Labor and the Louisiana Sugarcane League began organizing workers, demands for better pay, working conditions, and union recognition grew louder. On November 1st, 1887, approximately 10,000 workers went on strike, refusing to return to the fields until their demands were met. The strike's leaders, including prominent African-American activists, called for peaceful protest and negotiation. However, local white planters and law enforcement saw the strike as a threat to their power and profits. The situation escalated on November 2nd, when white vigilantes, including local law enforcement and sugar planters, attacked striking workers in their homes. Clashes erupted, and violence spread throughout Thibodaux. Over the next few days, white mobs rampaged through the town, killing an estimated number of 30 to 60 African Americans, although some reports put the death toll higher. The violence was brutal and indiscriminate, with workers, their families, and even bystanders targeted. Many were shot, beaten, or licked, their bodies left in the streets or dumped in the bayou. Most homes were burned. The local jail was filled with hundreds of African Americans, arrested and imprisoned without charges, forced to sign contracts agreeing to work for lower wages. Mary P. Terrell, a prominent African American activist, investigated the massacre and advocated for justice. She documented the atrocities and pushed for accountability, but her efforts were met with resistance and silence. Louisiana Governor Samuel Douglas McHenry failed to intervene, allowing the violence to escalate. His inaction emboldened the perpetrators.
Hey guys, it's Dylan. If you're like me and you like...
I'm going to stop this right quick and show you what's happening in the present. So you say, James, that's probably in the past. That can't be happening now, right? People not getting alive on trees, right? Not in America, right? Watch this. Got some video for you.
But here it is, another 18-year-old boy has been found in a tree in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Some said that the officials are saying that it's self-inflicted, but in the article that I read, it said that an autopsy has not been done yet. So you can't confirm if it's self-inflicted without an autopsy being done. The other thing that's kind of scary is that it was across the street from a elementary school, Thames Elementary School in Mississippi. What is the world coming to? What is the world coming to? I cannot believe this many young boys are killing themselves. I feel like they're being targeted. I feel like the people in Mississippi and North Carolina, you guys need to walk in groups. Don't be alone. You know what I'm saying? Don't isolate yourself. Because right now something is not right. The full story is not out, but something is not right. I will not believe that another 18-year-old has hung themselves. It's just not adding up. But get the word out. You know what I'm saying? Hattiesburg, Mississippi, get the word out to your people. Walk in groups. Something is going on. You guys might be targeted, you might not. But better safe than sorry. They say.
So I just got word that they are banning Henderson, North Carolina for you truck drivers. Do not take a load going in Henderson, North Carolina. Do not take a load going out of Henderson, North Carolina. They do not get the right, okay, to lynch and unalive a black man like that. They don't get the right to do that, okay? We might not have any laws or anything in place for us, but one thing we can do is do things in numbers, okay? I don't care about how much they paying y'all. I know the money can be tempting. I know it's hard out here, but you got to stand for something or fall for anything. Do not take a load going in Henderson or coming out of Henderson, North Carolina, or any of those towns for that matter, okay? Because most of them are country-ass sundown towns. I've been in North Carolina my whole entire life. This is the most racist-ass state known to man, okay? Don't take y'all ass down here doing any big loads. I'm talking, if you don't work for Walmart, Walmart, straight from the source, y'all other side lots, y'all other truckers with y'all own business, do not take y'all ass down there to Henderson, North Carolina, okay? Seriously, they don't get the right to do that. Because when you do things in numbers, that's when they really start to wake up. We already don't have an anti-hate bill for black people. And I don't want to hear the immaterial anti-lynching bill because they're not being specific. Let's be real. Who's really getting lynched in America other than black people? Nobody else is really getting still hung from a tree in 2024. So let's keep it real here, okay? So we're not about to play these games. Y'all send this to every trucker you know. Post this on Facebook of trucking, Instagram of trucking, TikTok of trucking. I don't give a damn. Don't take y'all ass down there to Henderson, North Carolina. All right? You got to stand for something or fall for anything. Y'all got it? Roll with it. Oh yeah, let I'm playing with this one because I want to say this one last thing. Far as the immaterial anti-lynching bill, they are saying in specifically everybody, nobody gets the right to be lynched, okay? But they're not being specific. And realistically, the only people that have honestly been getting lynched is black people, okay? This is not the only case where they have found a black person hanging from a fucking tree, okay? They just don't talk about it a lot. What black people need in general is an anti-hate bill, okay? We need an anti-hate bill specifically for black people. When they are talking about black people, they are generalizing everybody. No, just like the Asians have a fucking anti-hate bill, black people need an anti-hate bill. We're not gonna play these fucking games, okay? Which is why I wish black women would stop taking their ass to the fucking Asians and making them rich, okay? Which is why I wish we would stop spending money with all these major fucking designers, but that's another video, okay? I don't want to get off topic here, but y'all get it. Do not go to Henderson, North Carolina. There is power in numbers. So I just got
Henderson, North Carolina, Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Word that they are banning Henderson, North Carolina for you truck drivers.
Sorry about that. Trying to get.
Do not take a load going in Henderson, North Carolina. Do not take a load going.
You heard it, but I got something else for you because you might say maybe those ladies are just overreacting. No, watch this guy's video. Watch this guy's video.
Now, in my last 3 videos, I've been telling you guys, there's a certain person that lives across the street from the area where he was taken out. So I've been doing a little bit more digging, because that 911 call has everybody looking at this entire case side-eye. Remember when I showed you guys this road right here, Vanco Mill Road? There's the TNR truck trailer repair, there's a house right here, there's a church right over there, then Shell's back down the street. Now, it's going up a little bit further, because these are where a lot of the trucks park at also, when it comes to people parking, but there's also a trailer repair place. But I want you to notice something, because over here in the woods over here, right up through that way, let me back up a little bit, right over there is where Javion was found. Now remember, I said there's a former police officer or an officer who lives across the street from that entire area, right? Directly across the street from TNR. Guess what I found? I found this right here. The 3 officers that have been charged. Well, they're now former officers. But I found that the 3 officers, Bobby Dean Bolton, Richard Allen Coleman, and Sergeant William Randolph Curran. Now, they were indicted by a grand jury back in 2015. Now, one name stood out to me when it came to this entire case right here. Told y'all the chickens are coming home to roost. This name right here, William Randolph Curran. He's a former detective in the Henderson-Vance County Vice Unit. Now, Curran and these other 2 detectives or officers, deputies, they're all former. They were charged with delivering narcotics to a suspected narcotics dealer. Whoa. Curran is also charged with keeping 2 handguns and a pair of binoculars seized during a narcotics raid. He was also charged and caught with taking out he took a scope off of a seized rifle, but also changed his out. He put his old one on there and took the new one. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. So as I was digging, I saw that he is on the Brady list. Yeah, he's on the Brady list, and he's the one who lives on that road. But as I was looking at the Brady list in that county right there, I found some other stuff. I found this officer on the Brady list, this officer on the Brady list, this officer on the Brady list, again another officer on the Brady list, and yet again, and again, yet another, and another, and yet another. And you guessed it, another. Sheriff Brain, is this why you obscured and messed up and tried to block the 911 caller? You made all the voices sound kind of different. You didn't want to, what's going on? Is this why? I don't think that y'all expected this thing to hit the internet like it does. I think that's why you guys are trying to get rid of this type of app, because the public is finding out nationwide that the chickens are getting ready to come home to roost. This is 2024. God is pulling off the fig leaves. And guess what? This app is the light to all the darkness that is going on in the world. Click. Now, in my last 3 videos, I've been telling you guys, there's a certain person that lives across the street from the area where he was taken out.
Wait a minute, there's more.
Alright, so I got a little bit of story time. Everybody's been talking about these little sundown towns or whatever, and I really wasn't going to say nothing just because in the past week I have been to this town like maybe twice already. I'm an OTR trucker, but my company has been needing help with one of their dedicated routes out in Illinois. So, anywho, I'm not going to say the name of the town. I'm going to just say that the town is in Arkansas. So, the other day, 2 days ago, I took a load to Arkansas from Illinois. It was like a 5-hour and 11-minute drive, and I knew I was not going to have the time to drive back the same night after getting unloaded. So once I leave the drop-off location or the unload location, I was able to find a Love's that was like 8 minutes away from where I was at. And it was raining really bad, so I knew I did want to take a shower because I got rained on. So I knew I wanted to take a shower, probably get something to eat, chill up for a little bit to the morning because I usually start like 5:30 a.m. Anywho, I get to the Love's. What I did notice when I first pulled into the Love's, there was a black pickup truck. And it was like, it looked like it had just turned into the trucker entrance and just stopped there. So I figured like maybe he was taking a break, or he may have worked there, or it could have been a number of things. Wasn't really thinking too much of it. So by the time I made it to the Love's, it was about 2:30 in the afternoon. So I parked up. Like I said, it was raining really bad. I didn't want to get rained on again, so I was like, all right, let me just chill, play a little PS5, and wait till the rain slow up or just stop. So around like maybe 6:30 that night, the rain did slow up enough to get and going in to take a shower. So get out the truck. Like I said, it's like 6:30. So as I'm getting out the truck, it was a black dude who also works for my company. I see him speed walking past me, like I'm talking about fast. But I thought he was just trying to get some steps in or something, like, get them 10,000 steps in or whatever. I didn't really think too much of it. And I also seen two black dudes that worked for Love's who were taking stacks of boxes and taking them to the dumpster that were left outside. So I'm walking into the building, like I said, not thinking anything of anything. Just, doing me like I always do. And take about an hour 20 minutes to shower. I know by the time I did get out of the Loves, it was like 7:50. So as I'm walking out, I did notice that the two black dudes that were outside, they were now inside. One was behind the counter, and one was doing like little courtesy checks, sweeping up floors or whatever inside. And it was two white dudes now who was out there moving the boxes or whatever. So as I'm walking to my truck, the black dude that passed me, that was speed walking to his truck, he parked like 4 trucks down from me. 4 trucks down from me. But I noticed that he was in his truck and he was doing like one of these. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, he was doing that. So I'm thinking he's like, trying to shoot a bug or anything he was doing in his truck. I really didn't think he was doing that towards me. So as I'm almost to my truck, that same black pickup truck that was at the entrance, he like pulls up on the right side of me and beeps the horn because I have my headset on. He beeps the horn, rolls his window down, and was like, "Oh, hey, you must not be from around here." So I'm like, me being me, I'm laughing at him, and I'm like, well, why would you say that? What would give me away? Is it the way I walk? Is it how I dress? What? Why would you say that? So he was just like, oh, just know I'm one of the good ones. Which I didn't know what he meant by that either. So I was like, okay. So he was like, oh, well, he started pointing to all the trucks. He's like, which truck is yours? So I was like, well, why you want to know where my truck at? Like, what you got going on? Why is this your car? So he was like, just know that you should get to your car or your truck. And if you have blinds, close your blinds. So now I'm starting to get offended because, like, you ain't going to tell me what to do. What you talking about? Like, this is how I'm thinking in my mind, but I'm not saying anything. I'm just steady smiling because I'm not thinking nothing or whatever. So I get in my truck or whatever. I was already going to close my blinds. Get in the truck, close my blinds, lock the doors, whatever. And as I'm playing my game, because I get back on the PS5, as I'm playing the game, it started dawning on me like, maybe I'm in a sundown town or so, because why would he just pull up on me? Like, did he say that to everybody, or is it just me because I'm a girl or whatever? Like, it just really was bothering me. So I didn't really think anything of it. I woke up 5:30 a.m., did my pre-trip, went to use the bathroom really quick, got back in the truck, and got back to Illinois. The same dude that I had seen the night before, like, speed walking to his truck, he's coming out while I'm coming inside, but he's flagging me down. Like, he rolls his window down, he puts his hand out, he's flagging me down and roll my window down. So he was like, oh, I hope you didn't think I was trying to be rude or anything. So I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, because, I was doing like this in the truck. I was like, yeah, I seen you. I thought you was like shooting a bug or a gnat or something. He was like, no, I was doing that to try to tell you to hurry up and get into your truck, because this is my dedicated route. I go to that town like at least 2 or 3 times out of the week, and they're racist. It's a sundown town. So I'm like, nah, you lying. So he was like, yeah, that truck that was at the entrance, he was like, that truck is there almost every time I come there. And that truck does that. If it's anybody that's not from there or haven't delivered there or just stopping and they're of color, that truck is always there, and he rides up on people. Until he was like, that person told me twice before. When I first started with this dedicated route, the dude told him twice before that he needs to stop, he needs to pick the times where he gets out his truck and make sure those times is before the sun go down. So like I said, the sundown towns, man, shit is real, man. The shit is really real, man. Like, for real, like, I couldn't believe I was actually in that situation. And then I do notice that
even truckers would avoid that route if they weren't 100% certain that they could.
you, Mom. This year. And let's never forget, they still trying to rule his death or suicide right now. All of them black. All of them went to historically sundown towns and were told not to take those routes, and they took them anyway. And this is what the results of them taking those routes were. It's not in the past, it's right now.
Even truckers would avoid that route if they weren't 100% certain that they could.
They say black people are not being targeted. They say that all of this harm that's currently coming to us is self-inflicted.
Another young black man found hanging in a tree in Mississippi. Did you hear what I said? I said another young black man within a span of a week found hanging in front of an elementary school in Mississippi. Guys, America, this is not a distraction. And if you say that, you got a problem. This is America, right? And someone's trying to send a message, and your message is heard loud and clear. I want you guys to go look at this video right here on the screen. You can tap here and go watch that video, but you need to understand something, people. In certain cities, in certain states, some of them, they call themselves different names, Goon Squad, things like that, right? Mississippi. It's time to clean house. As two young black men found hanging from a tree within a week. Watch this video right now. Spread the word. You can go in the description of this video and watch it, or you can tap on the screen, but we got to do something right now. And we can't let this get swept under the rug. I'm out.
Black community, listen up, listen close. Yet another body has been found hanging from a tree. This is a fresh one, a new one. So pay attention. The county coroner out of Forest County, that's Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We can't escape that evil fucking state. But the county coroner confirmed that an 18-year-old male was found hanging from a tree directly across from a black elementary school. Does that scream message, or does that scream message? Am I the only one? Please tell me. Let me know in the comments. Lisa Clem, the coroner, stated that the body was being transported, and this morning an autopsy at the State Crime Lab in Biloxi was going to be conducted, and there a determination of death would be given. But according to Hattiesburg police, it's self-inflicted, case closed, and there's no signs of foul play. The body of an 18-year-old male found hanging from a tree directly across from a black elementary school. You got to be fucking kidding me. All I can say is this community travel in groups. There is something very, very nefarious going on. I believe that a point is trying to be made. Just arm yourselves. Protect yourselves. Stay together, stick together as a community. Keep your head on a swivel, trust no one. But I believe the black community is under attack. Please warn your children, all family members in Mississippi especially, but I believe everywhere. Black community, listen,
Well, so they tell you the past is the. So they tell you that just the past, right?
Hey guys, it's Dylan. If you're like me and you like getting paid to give your opinion, then go to beforthright.com.
His inaction emboldened the perpetrators and sent a chilling message that such brutality would be tolerated. In the aftermath, investigations were limited and inconclusive, with no convictions for the perpetrators. The Thibodeau annihilation remained largely unreported or distorted by contemporary accounts. Today, the Thibodeau massacre stands as one of the deadliest incidents of racial violence in U.S. history, a stark reminder of the brutal suppression of African American labor activism during the Jim Crow era. The legacy of this tragedy continues to reverberate, a call to remember and confront the dark corners of America's past. Number 6, Wilmington, North Carolina. The Wilmington, North Carolina annihilation was a tale of politics, power, and racial hatred that culminated in one of the most devastating incidents of racial violence in American history. It began with the rise of the Fusion Party, a coalition of Republicans and populists who sought to challenge the Democratic Party's stranglehold on North Carolina politics. In 1898, the Fusion Party swept the municipal elections in Wilmington, North Carolina's largest city, electing a biracial government. This victory was seen as a threat by the Democratic Party and the city's white elite, who feared the loss of their power and privilege. A campaign of intimidation and disinformation was launched, with Democratic leaders and newspapers whipping up racial tensions and spreading false rumors of African American aggression. The situation escalated when a white newspaper editor, Josephus Daniels, published an inflammatory editorial that sparked outrage among African Americans. On November 10, 1898, a group of African American leaders attempted to respond to Daniels' editorial, but their meeting was disrupted by a white mob. The violence quickly spread, with white rioters attacking African American homes, businesses, and citizens. The Wilmington Light Infantry and the North Carolina Naval Reserves were called in, but instead of restoring order, they joined the white mobs, killing and driving out African American residents. Estimates suggest that between about 300 African Americans were killed, and thousands more were forced to flee the city. The aftermath was just as shocking. The biracial government was overthrown, and many African American leaders were forced into exile. The Democratic Party reasserted its control, and the city's African American population was left to pick up the pieces. For all the violent moments in United States history, the mob's gruesome attack was unique. It was the only coup d'etat ever to take place on American soil. Lost in the fire that destroyed the daily record were the lives of black citizens and the spirit of a thriving black community, and also the most promising effort in the South to build racial solidarity. Number 7, St. Louis, Missouri. On July 3rd, 1917, continuing violence raged in East St. Louis, Illinois, as white mobs attacked black residents and destroyed their homes and other properties. The primary outbreak of violence began on July 2nd, 1917, when white residents of East St. Louis and other nearby communities ambushed African American workers as they left factories during a shift change. The National Guard was called in to suppress the violence, but they were ordered not to shoot at white rioters. Some troops reportedly joined the mobs targeting the black community. A quick throwback into the year 1916 and 1917. Thousands of blacks made a massive exodus from the rural South to East St. Louis in search of industrial work. White residents, along with the city's political leaders, attempted to discourage black migration and prohibited railroads from transporting black people to the region. When these attempts failed, white residents would begin using violence to intimidate, expel, and destroy the African American population. From July 2nd through July 5th, 1917, estimates showed that as many as 200 African Americans were shot, hanged, beaten to death, and others burnt alive after being...
If you've ever considered...
Well, history explains for itself. I ain't got no more to say about this video. Explains for itself. There you have it. Alright then, take care, be blessed. Stay safe out there, black people, wherever you are in America, because it's going to get worse. Take care, see you on the next video.